Ow. Ah. Fuck. Oh. Oh.
All right, what's up, guys?
I got a dirty left sock.
And I'm gonna give you some of my thoughts on anxiety. Um, okay, so why do I get up in the morning? Because I need to go to work. Why do I need to go to work? Because I need to make money. Why do I need to make money? Because I need to take care of myself. Why do I need to take care of myself? Because that's important. Although asking yourself these questions may initially be interpreted as a silly practice, I believe that engaging with the rabbit hole of why can be a tool one could leverage to define one's purpose and intent, sharpening one's ability to move in alignment with the lifelong quest of accomplishing one's goals. The deeper down this rabbit hole you can go, the more sophisticated you become, and the better you can manipulate your present to align with your ideal future. It's important to know we are so frequently wrong about what our ideal future even is. This may be why sometimes, despite a strong belief that we're currently doing the right thing, we still have anxiety. It's almost like our intuition has recognized our conscious misinterpretation of our own goals. Somehow, our subconscious recognizes the pattern disrupt before we do, so we plunder ahead, continuing our behavior while our ears ring from anxiety's alarm, often trying to ignore it or hide from it rather than trying to turn it off. So, in this regard, anxiety becomes an indicator. A red flag goes off, and even if we don't know why, things don't feel right. A personal example for me would be interacting with the woman I'm attracted to. I've struggled with feeling intense anxiety during these interactions, as I'm hyper conscious of everything I do and say because I want this person to like me. Is it a coincidence that when I stop caring, turn off the performance, even at the cost of getting the girl to like me, that my anxiety nearly vanishes? No, it's because it's more in alignment with my goals. As a victim of the moment, I might believe that my goal in that circumstance is to get the girl to like me. But truly, my goal is to be as honest of a person as possible and to be secure enough to allow my most candid self to be expressed. Even if I don't consciously put my finger on this fact, my soul is disrupted nonetheless, and anxiety starts waving its red flag. Notice how my anxiety was triggered when I wasn't moving in alignment with my goal, even though I thought I was. My conscious mind didn't decide that being my honest self was prioritized, or I would have behaved as such from the start. Instead, this goal is an intrinsic part of my nature, and I had to recognize it to understand it and exercise it. Without doing so, I'm either a victim of repeating my mistake, or even worse, I stop attempting to engage with girls altogether in an attempt to avoid the anxiety. Now, this example is trite, oversimplified. It may cost me the alienation of some listeners, but I wanted to use something really simple to get my point across. Misidentifying your anxiety's root has potential to be disastrous, as fulfillment seems to reside on the thin line between fear and comfort. In other words, avoiding triggers is not healing. Um, I believe that viewing anxiety as the alarm that sounds louder and louder as you move away from your goals is game changing. For one, understanding this can now help you eliminate it. When you feel anxious, recognize the feeling as a distress signal and use that thought process as leverage to identify the cause and adjust. This is especially helpful to me as I suffer from chronic anxiety. I've often felt victim to an irrational feeling that dictated my life and its quality. This is learned hopelessness. Now, when I get anxious, I feel prompted to acutely examine what I'm doing, as I'm now under the impression that in some way, shape, or form, that anxiety is a hotness coldness meter for if I'm moving in the right direction. In other words, I now have a call to action on how to cure myself when I'm anxious. Now I can work backwards from what my goal is to find the current action that's not going to give me anxiety. Or if on paper it seems like I'm doing the quote unquote right thing, like talking to a girl, I can work backwards from my goal to rewire my approach to be more in alignment with the goal, and then my anxiety is likely to vanish. Furthermore, there's an additional reason why this notion excites me. Going down the rabbit hole of asking yourself why for the sake of defining your goals is daunting and difficult. It's very hard to do, and as a result, we're often wandering through life without a solid grasp of our true purpose and intent. By understanding the nature of anxiety and our relationship with it, we can now work backwards from anxiety to help define our goals. In other words, if you can't clearly define your goals, keep doing things until you do something that doesn't give you anxiety, something that makes you feel good. You may have just stumbled into your purpose. It's a truly beautiful thing to be able to reframe anxiety as something positive, a tool you can now use to advance your quality of life. This reframing has been integrally relevant to me as I'm perennially pondering my purpose as well as perennially wrestling with anxiety. I go to work and my mind consistently finds the source of unease that surrounds the notion of not being creative and not making something. I feel as if I'm just trudging through these bullshit chores to make money. I don't feel like I'm truly moving towards my goals. When I am making something, I can still feel anxiety because who knows if what I'm making is even good, but it's always far less. And as I'm saying this, I'm realizing the better the art piece I'm working on, the less anxiety I feel. This is why I feel like my purpose is to make good art. Now I do want to iterate a disclaimer. I'm oversimplifying an intense and nuanced emotion. I believe people, including myself, tend to generalize our emotions when we articulate them. There's stress, frustration, overwhelm, nervousness, etc., and we use the term anxiety to describe all of these states. Lacking nuance in our articulation of our emotions is an extreme disservice to ourselves, and I could make an entire other video on the benefits of practicing hyperspecificity when describing how we feel. The anxiety I'm referring to in this video is distinct from all other emotions I mentioned. I'm referring to the blanket of angst and unease that ranges widely in its presence and that can interfere with our daily life. In summary, I've lived under the tyranny of chronic anxiety my entire adult life. Lately, I've reframed it as an alarm that sounds when my actions aren't in alignment with my purpose, an alarm that gets louder and louder as the gap between behavior and intent gets bigger and bigger. This has allowed me to be less fearful of it and feel less like a victim of its presence. Understanding its relationship with my goals equips me with the ability to cure myself from it, as well as better understand my goals. It's no wonder I'm so enamored by this framing, as reducing my anxiety and defining my purpose are two themes that represent the majority of my days on this planet. So, those are my thoughts. Sometimes I fear my analysis crosses in a neuroticism. Like, does any of this even matter or apply to me? Like, have I completely lost my reference point? Am I questioning things that are moving me towards my goal just as much as I'm questioning the things that aren't? But that's not what's happening. Doing nothing gives me more anxiety than anything. So, although I can't be perfect, the opportunity cost of doing nothing is everything. So, fuck it, I'm doing something.